So what is Putin's game plan here? Joining me now is Jane Harman, President and CEO of the Woodrow Wilson Center. She's also a member of the Defense Policy Board and the State Department Foreign Policy Board. Former Congresswoman Harman, thanks so much for joining us. Let's talk about what can only be described as the turmoil in the southern part of Ukraine. 2 airports reportedly being occupied. It's unclear by whom at this point. Russia is denying they're involved, but the men that we've heard described sound by all indications to be Russian military, or at least affiliated with the Russian military. Can the U.S. believe the Russians when they say it's not them?
Well, we need to be very careful. The John Kerry clip that you just showed shows that he is being very careful. No question, a third of Ukraine is of Russian descent, and the history was with the old Soviet Union. And yes, there have been Russians on eastern Ukraine soil for years and years, and the KGB has its tentacles out. However, that doesn't mean there has been an invasion. It might mean that there's a plan to try to get this portion of Ukraine to secede and join Russia. That might be a smart move by Putin, who tries to stick his finger in our eye at every opportunity. But actually, I think we have an opportunity to gain the upper hand here. We is not just the U.S. It's primarily the EU, which is watching this enormously carefully. And the upper hand would be to get this interim government to be inclusive, to invite, which it has not done, some of these Crimeans to be part of the government, and to try to set up for the first time since the Orange Revolution a tolerant, pluralist, and competent government. Ukrainians want competence. They want bread and food, and they haven't had that since the Orange Revolution. It's been a very disappointing outcome. You know, think the Egypt movie. This is not the only place this is happening. And so if we are careful, and if our conversations are somewhat in private, much as this show is wonderful, Jake, and if the EU offers the right economic aid packages, and if the interim government makes the right moves, Vladimir Putin's going to be sitting in his corner sucking his thumb. Well,
just yesterday we had Senator John McCain on, and he said that the EU, and more specifically the IMF, the International Monetary Fund, should be in Ukraine right now, offering money, offering a bailout package, offering economic assistance to fend off any encroachments by the Russians. You agree with that, I'm assuming?
Yes, but we don't want a bidding war with the Russians. Remember, they offered $15 billion, and then they withdrew it. And, depending on what they do with their gas subsidies for Ukraine, they can, again, pull another $3 to $5 billion out of the country and try to tank the economy. Let's anticipate those games, but carefully done. There is so much reason why Ukraine wants to be not part of Europe, but certainly a pluralist country with a huge European influence and a Russian influence at the other end. And if the Ukrainian government is smart, they will show the world that they actually know how to fairly and fully include their own people in a government that will just wow all the rest of us. They have an opportunity. It's tough, but they have an opportunity.
Congresswoman, the British Foreign Secretary is going to travel to Kiev on Sunday to meet with the Ukrainian interim leader. Do you think Secretary Kerry should make a similar offer to go to Ukraine?
Well, our government's certainly involved. Our Assistant Secretary for Europe, as we all know, was embarrassed by Putin, but she's intimately involved, and she's a very capable woman, Toria Nuland. I don't know when Kerry should make that offer. I'm guessing that's being monitored. I'm sure he will consider making that offer. The whole world is pretty dangerous at the moment, Jake. He's got a lot of places to cover, and we're going to have a lot of Middle Eastern leaders in Washington in the next couple of days meeting with the president. So I don't know when the right time to make that offer is, but should we have our eyes on this? Should we be sober and careful? Absolutely. This is in the interest of the United States, and we do need to pay careful attention to what's happening here, and we should not, it seems to me, miscalculate what's going on. Saber rattling doesn't necessarily mean that there's a Russian invasion.